Oh, it's reading the dogs. Just looking into Tartary on stolenhistory.org. Fucking brilliant site. Just this bit here. There is growing opinion in Russia that the French invasion of Russia played out according to a different scenario, the one where Tsar Alexander and Napoleon were on the same side. Together they fought against Tartary, essentially France, and St. Petersburg against Moscow, Tartary, and there is a strong circumstantial evidence to support such a theory. 1. The capital of Russia was St. Petersburg, yet Napoleon chooses to attack Moscow. Why? 2. It appears that in 1912 there was a totally different recollection of the events of 1812. How else could you explain the commemorative 1912 medals honouring Napoleon? And specifically the one with Alexander I and Napoleon on the same medal. The below medal says something similar to strength is in the unity, will of God, firmness of loyalty, love for homeland and people. Napoleon, fucking Alexander. I have a hard time imagining below the two guys on the same medal, Stalin and Hitler. Similarity between Russian and French uniforms. There are more different uniforms involved, but the idea remains. They were ridiculously similar. There was one additional combat asset officially available to the Russians in the War of 1812, and that was the militia. It does appear that this so-called militia was in reality the army of Tartary fighting against Napoleon and Alexander I. Russian nobility in St. Petersburg spoke French in the 18th-19th century. The general explanation was that it was a trend of time and fashion. Google contains multiple opinions on the matter. This one I just ran into. 19th century fans were totally into a Napoleon Alexander romance. Here's a list of books and publications about Tartary here. There's a lot to get your teeth into. Right, this guy summarises here. He says, I think there is enough circumstantial evidence to justify a deeper look into who fought who and why this Tartary country is so little known about. And the main question out of all this should be, what is the purpose of misleading generations of people? It appears there is something tremendously serious hidden in our recent history. Right, and here's an answer by Corbin Dallas, who's a good contributor and a moderator, I think, on here. He's good anyway. He says, oh, there definitely was something going on, and from what I've learned on a personal level and some considerable amount of research, much of the history of Russia, except among the oral traditions of certain minorities in Russia, is not entirely correct. The Romanovs were lying, creating propaganda to glorify their reigns and distort or ignore the accomplishments of the previous Rurikid dynasty. The Romanovs weren't even ethnic Russians either, but the German royal house of Holstein-Gottorp, a branch of the Oldenburgs, are originally from Lubeck, a town of the Hanseatic League. So, right. Okay, and then, he's putting a link between Napoleon and the Tsar, saying that when Napoleon invaded Moscow, he was fighting with Napoleon. Well, there's a fucking mainstream site, Napoleon.org. And Napoleon and Tsar Alexander meeting on the raft on the Niemen, 25th of June 1708. And these aren't ordinary rafts. Right. Just read this short passage for you. Alexander I and Napoleon's summit on the river at Zlist, Sovetsk, 25th of June 1807. At 9 p.m. on the 24th, the order was given to build 2 floating houses for the meeting of the 2 sovereigns, which was supposed to take place in the centre of the river Memel. 150 French carpenters immediately started work on the houses, and the first was finished and floated by midday on 25th of June. According to eyewitnesses, the maisonette was exceedingly well furnished and included a large, finely decorated salon with 2 facing doors, beyond which stood 2 antechambers. The walls were covered with garlands of flowers and foliage. and on the roof were two weathercocks, one with a Russian eagle and the other with a French eagle. Double-headed eagle, anyone? This house was anchored in the middle of the River Niemen near the old bridge. The second house was not yet completed. At half past midday, Napoleon, accompanied by his marshals and 100 guards, reached the river bank and got into a small boat. The Russian guard formed up on the opposite bank. At a signal given by the Russian trumpets, the two boats set off simultaneously and arrived both at the same time, Napoleon on the south side and Alexander on the north. They embraced and entered the house. The conversation lasted for 3/4 of an hour, and they then returned in the same order as before. Extracts from the previously unpublished journal of Ernst Ludwig Sayre, Counsellor of the Commission of Justice in Swiss for the period of June-July 1807. Published in the brochure 200 Years Treaty of the Swiss editor Bartheldruck Arnstadt, 2007. I also read that they were partying, I don't know, it was a couple of years before, a couple of months before, but they used to party together. They were big friends, massive friends. I'm going to have a look at this article, what speaks of saying how in the 19th century they were totally into the idea. Well, 19th century fans were totally into a Napoleon and Alexander romance. Wouldn't surprise me. '19th century fans were totally into an Alexander Napoleon romance. Tumblr is getting a history lesson thanks to a sexy romp through time with two world rulers who were inordinately fond of one another. If you ever get disheartened, just remember people in the 19th century were painting hot Napoleon and Tsar Alexander boyfriend yowls before our great-grandparents were even convinced, wrote Tumblr user Scroogerello Wednesday. You don't say. Look at that. Fucking... Yep, that happened. No wonder the post immediately ballooned into 30,000 notes and reblogs. The picture above is a sketch of an unknown origins, completed at some point after Napoleon and Tsar Alexander I got together to sign the historic treaty of I can't even say that, which united Europe after the first Napoleonic invasions, albeit temporarily. While the artist's meaning isn't clear, it's probably propaganda meant to popularise the idea of the treaty among Russians. The picture's recirculation into public eye might be due to Stanley Kubrick's massive research of Tears Cat. Not the kitten. The picture's recirculation to the public eye might be due to Stanley Kubrick's massively researched but never filmed biopic of Napoleon, which now exists in a super rare 10-volume edition that typically sells for around $1,000 if you can find it. It also shows up in the PBS Empire series, where a documentary on Napoleon notes that the would-be ruler found Alexander handsome and wrote to his wife in 1807 that if Alexander were a woman, I would make him my mistress. Steamy, no wonder their love produced a flurry of romantic art. I mean, just look at those arseholes and tell me that no one ever had any reason to think there was something slightly off about them, wrote Kat Bell in the Dark in June of this year, along with two of her friends. One is Duchess of Wellington. Kat Bell in the Dark was among the first Tumblr users to popularise the idea of Napoleon Alexander/fic. They discovered the romantic pop culture equivalent of political RPF, or real person fiction, in a form of fancification that often gets written off as sleazy or shocking because many people consider it intrusive of the lives of real public figures. Blah 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 blah. Right. I just wanted to show you that anyway. I thought it was interesting. So, them two being on the same side and they were just wiping out Tartarians really. They attacked Moscow, not St. Petersburg. So they were just routing out the last a lot of the Tartarian remnants. and the double-headed eagle, see that? They both had a house each with an eagle. Consider it a house, right? Rudy's out. Oh, hang on. No, I'm not. Well, this is ancient pages, it's a shit site, but some good pictures, look at that. Double-headed eagle, 1450 BC, 1180 BC. Earth before the flood. Good image, yeah. It's in the Masonic Dictionary. There's a big article there, it tells you like a version of its history. Doesn't have many uses, it's just goes on. So that's the Masonic Dictionary anyway, if you want to have a look at that article, and it explains who used the double-headed eagle, when they used it, what they used it on. But what it doesn't tell you is what it really fucking means. Right, I'm out. Trying to feed the dogs. Over and out. Bye y'all. Take care.